Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Storytale Staging inside of Home Staging TV's YouTube channel. I'm your host, Tori Toth. With me, you can see I've got a lovely panel here. And so I want to jump right in. We are talking to some amazing home staging authors for National Authors Day, which was earlier this week. But I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to highlight some of the amazing authors in our industry, as well as give you the knowledge you need to maybe level up your business. So I'm going to start with Kelly Kirks. She's the founder of Simply Well, Simply Organized out of Massachusetts. And the primary focus of Simply Well, Simply Organized is to assist clients in clearing the clutter from mind, body, and home. And she has the book Fresh Paint. So Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have Cafarell. Did I say your name right?
You did. Good girl.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And
Doesn't happen often.
She is the owner of Edge Home Staging in North Carolina. And she's been a professional home stager since 2003 and has helped sellers set their homes apart from competitively priced homes in order to gain more profit in less time. And she is a self-published author of Little Witty Bits and helps other authors self-publish on Amazon. So if you're looking to self-author a book, definitely message Carol. Hey, Carol.
Great. I would love to. I wanted to be that different person today, so I think I am, because my book is not only not about home staging, but I published it for other reasons. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad you are here. And then, of course, we have the infamous Christine Ray, and she's the president of CSP International Business Training Academy and is the author of one of the most original books in this industry, Home Staging for Dummies, and is a contributing author to Sold, Staging Secrets, Trendsetters, Nothing But Net, and the only business book you'll ever need. Hi, Christine.
How are you? Thank you for asking me to be here.
Thank you. You are going to be a wealth of knowledge in today's panel. And we have Liz Connolly. She is an award-winning home stager and recently founded From Staged to Sold, a firm assisting individuals interested in selling their home staging businesses. She actually launched her home staging business, INhance IT, back in 2007 and has since sold it and has a new book, You Don't Know What You Don't Know, Building a $1 Million Staging Business and Selling It for Maximum Profit, which was just released this year. So congratulations, Liz, and welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Tori. And Christine was a mentor of mine. Hers was the first staging book I ever read when I got into business.
There you go.
Nice.
I know. She has one of the most infamous books out there. Let's get started. Well, we'll start with you, Christine. How did you get started in the home staging industry?
I got fired. Well, not regularly fired, but downsized, outsized, right-sized, whatever you want to call it. Golden handshake, out the door, and had to reinvent myself. So I started a decorating business and very shortly afterwards realized you need multiple streams of income to actually replace the income that you lost in the corporate world. So I started out with about 6 different services. And at the end of year one, the one that was most profitable was staging. And so I segued off to that. And, my last year in business, I did, 1.3 million in sales. So I think I can earn the merit badge of teaching how to build a successful business. So it's been a long journey. This is my 21st year in industry.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So how many home stagers do you think you've taught over the years?
Thousands. You'd think I have a number, but I don't. But I would say, probably if I had to guess, I would say around 5,000, but maybe more. I don't know. It's frustrating, I find, when people, take a training and then don't follow through with it. So you might train somebody, but they might not actually get started in the business for whatever reason. And, that's why I make myself available to the students. come back. I coach, I mentor, I help. My mantra is no stager left behind. So that's, sort of where I work from. But you have to reach out. I know that there are a lot of struggling stagers out there. But I hopefully, I can make an impact on anyone who wants the help. I'm here.
Well, I think it's important too, because you have kind of like an instructional book, Home Staging for Dummies. But I mean, you have to go beyond just an instructional book. You need to get the proper training.
Well, it's interesting.
Right?
When I wrote that book, I got a lot of bad press from stagers who were like, why would you write a book for sellers to do it themselves? And I'm like, what? It's 450 pages. I would hope by the time they read it, they thought, oh my God, there's got to be an easier way. And it's like, yes, hire a stager, So it was quite a move for me to get them to put colored photos in the book, because how can you have black and white before and after pictures? And secondly, I fought for a segment that they have at the back of all of their dummy books, like part of 10s. And I got 10 reasons to hire a staging professional. And that was, a really big coup at the time. So it was kind of interesting. But really, why did I write it? It was because I was asked by Wiley. They wanted a book on home staging. I did ask them if they could change the title, because Home Staging for Dummies wasn't a good brand, I thought, at the time. But I said to him, staging is for smart people. And that was a trademark I did right away. I was always going to write a book called, Home Staging for Smart People. Because smart sellers, smart realtors, smart builders, smart investors, smart anybody was where I was coming from. And I was fortunate to know Jan Maresh Saunders, who had written about 14 dummy books on sewing and different sort of aspects of that. And they asked her if she knew anybody who could write this book. And she knew me. So that's how I got introduced to them, and then, wrote it. And I don't know, it's still in print, and I'm amazed. I keep asking can I update it, because so much has changed in our industry.
Yeah.
But it was quite a trip.
And when was that published?
Oh my God. Should have told me. I don't know. All I know is I had a really tight deadline. It was a very busy quarter, and it had to be finished by the 12th of December. I was in California finishing up the final chapters in November, and there was an earthquake. So it was my first earth shake, as they used to call it. And then it was released like 6 months later. So I sort of missed the launch. And I talk about that a lot with stagers, because you're always busy being busy, and it's like you have to celebrate the wins as you move through life. It's really crucial. But it was around about the same time as I started publishing the staging magazine. And, I don't know, 2000 and something.
Yes,
7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I really can't remember.
Definitely a lot has changed.
A lot has changed, for sure. A lot's changed in the last 5 years, let alone in the last 20 years. Been crucial.
Yes, that's very true.
It's like when I wrote the Sold book, this really was the catalyst for teaching real estate agents what they needed to know to hire a stager. That was why I wrote that book. It was just a key thing, to be able to get that message across to real estate agents that this is not what you think it is. Staging is bigger than what you can produce, yourself. And working with a stager is a smart move.
I love that. I love having that part of the conversation, which we'll come back to. Kelly, how about you? How did you get started?
I kind of came in a little bit backwards. I started out as a realtor first, and had always had a love of staging and organizing. And I found every home I was going into, I was definitely seeing things that I could see where the house could be. And so I was really getting excited for buyers of how they could fix it up. And then I would see other realtors' listings, and I would just be horrified at the pictures that would be on the MLS, and then also just the condition of the house. And so I started staging, I went through my staging training, and then I started staging my own properties. And then I just started working for other realtors as well, because they would see my work, and in our office meetings, they would always ask me for advice. So my business kind of just launched just organically from the work that I was doing and just the perspective that I had that was different than they had been thinking.
And you read the Sold book by Christine.
Yes.
Oh, God
Absolutely.
bless you.
No, but why do you think that hesitation is between a real estate agent and a home stager, or them embracing staging?
For me, I think it was being in the Northeast here, closer to the Boston, Metro Boston area. Staging was a little bit more popular, but I'm Northwest a little bit, and realtors had the mindset that staging was only for, $1 million+ homes. It was for only the really high end, the model home, the home that you were going to attract a very high end buyer. And so they were hesitant to think that they didn't need staging because not a lot of folks were doing it. But once they started to see the difference it made and the difference in list price and sale price and the online activity now with people scrolling through properties at all hours of the day, if you have vacant homes or homes that look not appealing online, buyers are just passing them by. They're not even going to set an appointment to go see them. So I've really found that those pictures are worth, their weight in gold to have a buyer stop and pause and say, oh my God, that house looks really cute. I can't wait to go in it. Or, it gives buyers so much more excitement to see a well done house than just a vacant room with all gray walls. And, the realtors I had found were thinking that empty houses looked bigger than staged houses, so they were hesitant to use staging.
So, Liz, how about you? I feel like you're almost in the second phase of home staging here, where you've started a staging company, you've sold a staging company, and now you're moving into a whole new sector of home staging. So how did you get started?
Absolutely. Well, I was in the home building business prior to starting my staging company. And business had been really robust for many years. And then in 2006, the market started to slow down. And I was sitting with 63 inventory properties. And we were having meetings trying to figure out how to move those properties because all of our cash was tied up in those inventory homes. So we started brainstorming, and it came to light that most of the people who came into the display model homes on Sundays said they were there to look at the decorating. So I said, well, why don't we find a way to decorate all of these inventory homes and get some people in to look at them? And we didn't have any furniture sitting around to decorate them with. So I started researching, and that was the first time I learned the term home staging. And so I began doing some research. I found a couple of companies in St. Louis that did vacant home staging, and I contracted with one of them and had them do a few of our properties. And then a bell started going off in my head that, I think there's an avenue for this. And so my daughter and I started INhance IT Home Staging in St. Louis in 2007. We had a really good run and sold the company in 2019. So during that period we were in business, we staged over 5,000 properties. And when I went to sell the business, a lot of things came to light. You don't know what you don't know. And that's the reason that I went ahead and wrote this book, because I saw a lot of, there's the book. I saw a lot of people posting on Facebook, a lot of stagers and potential stagers asking questions about things that they really should have already known the answer to before they got in business. So with this book, it's not only about selling your business, it's a two-part book. The first part, the first 5 chapters, are building the building blocks for building $1 million staging business. Then the second half of the book is all of the steps that it takes, the paperwork, the processes, the people you need on your team to get your business sold.
I love that. And I think it's so important to know where you're ending, even before you actually begin, because you were saying a lot of stagers don't necessarily know their exit strategy. And that's a question that they should be asking themselves before they actually start a home staging business.
It really is. And one of the things that I see is a lot of stagers on Facebook, I see them selling off their inventory rather than selling their business as a whole. And the inventory isn't what brings value to your business. It's that, everything else, the personal goodwill that's in it, your branding and all of that is a comprehensive package. And so they're leaving money on the table when they're just selling their inventory.
They will leave so much money on the table, and they actually will lose out on money if they definitely don't think about it. So that's such a good topic for your book. Christine, so talk a little bit about how the home staging industry is different from when you started to now.
It's different and it's the same. It's different in that the quality of work that's required today is so much higher than it ever was. It's the same because we're battling the same problems. People who are in the industry not having enough confidence and value in themselves to charge the appropriate rates. Real estate agents across the board who aren't understanding there's a difference between what they think of as a decorating aspect and the actual holistic approach to maximizing equity return in the sale of property. It's not about making a pretty room. It's a really serious responsibility, and it really should be left to a professional. So there's a wide range of differentiators there.
And why did you decide to write the book, write Home Staging for Dummies, write Sold, write Trendsetters? What was the deciding factor on those?
Sure. Well, I wrote Sold because I was marketing to real estate agents and trying to get them to understand that there's a difference between just trying to make a room look more enhanced than what we were really about. Secondly, with Home Staging for Dummies, it was an informational handbook for the real estate staging industry, but also for sellers to understand there's a depth that's required to be able to get your house ready for sale. And then also as an eye-opener for those hobbyists who maybe thought they were dabbling in staging and it was just good fun. And I didn't want it to detract away from the people who are building, serious business with that. The others that I've been sort of feature authors with, definitely the one with Brian Tracy, they were all really, contributing chapters within books in order to get a message across. And I think all of the ones that I wrote in were motivational, particularly to women who are getting in the business. Because when I was in the corporate world, there wasn't much help back from women. And that's one of the things I love about the Real Estate Staging Association is that it is, hands across the nation, help and support for women in business. Because we are a 98% female dominated industry. And it's the same really with the magazine. The magazine was an advertising document to be able to get the message across to sellers, investors, and real estate agents that this is a serious responsibility and that it needs to be done by a professional.
Liz, what did the staging industry look like for you in comparison to what it looks like now? How is it different?
Oh, the industry has exploded. When we got into the business, as I said, we didn't know what we didn't know. I didn't even know there was staging training out there. I had the background from decorating we worked with interior designers to have our display homes outfitted. So I kind of saw what was happening there. But yeah, when I started, there were 2 other stagers in the St. Louis market doing vacant staging. And when I sold in 2019, there were 67 doing vacant staging and then numerous others doing occupied staging and other forms of it. So it's really exploded. And as someone said earlier, I think it was Christine, the level of staging and the expectations that you're seeing out there now, it's just really... It's amazing the beautiful work you're seeing out there. And stagers realize they can't get away with maybe going to the resale shop or the Goodwill and picking up things. You really have to up your game. And and staging is so important, as someone else said earlier, at all price points. In fact, I think it's even more important in some of the lower price points, because staging, kind of creates the dream, and people go in there and say, boy, I can live in a house that looks like this. So it's really so important at all levels. And it's wonderful to see how the industry has grown and changed. And the level of training that's out there now as well is, it's phenomenal.
And Carol, what about you? What were some of the differences in home staging when you started versus now?
Well, home staging, I think I might have mentioned this, that the first website I named was called whatisstaging.com, because that was the first question everyone asked me. And they came through with a lot of guesses, but never really knew what it was or how it could benefit them. I also found that a lot of people, the psychology factor came in, because a lot of people had not said goodbye to their house. They were very much grieving the move to come. So they were reluctant, and you could tell that the house wasn't ready to say hello to a new buyer either. So I knew that there was a pain and a need, and I wanted to make sure that I could help those people along to their next stage of life. And I have used that phrase before, because home staging does help you get to a new stage in life, the next season of life. I did a lot of owner occupied, but I also got asked to do a lot of hoarding cases, or where mom and dad had passed on and the kids couldn't open a house for 2 years because of the grief. So those kind of opportunities came up, and I tried them all. But back to what Liz was saying, it's almost like you have to really rein in all the things you can do to help a customer and focus more on the 1 or 2 or 3 things that you want to specialize in.
Yeah. And then, so what made you decide to write your book? Little Witty Bites. Sorry.
Little Witty Bits. Little Witty Bits. Look, I don't even know where that name came from, but I knew I had written some pieces that a lot of people liked, and I had been told that I was funny in telling some stories. So I ran with that because of a dare in a writer's group I was in. Once you are a creative, you're probably creative in other avenues besides what you make money doing. So I decided to try to publish a book on Amazon. So I did it. I sat at my kitchen table. I already had about 25 stories done, and I wrote some more. And then all of a sudden, the book was born. 9 days after I started the self-publishing process, I had a hard copy in my hands to approve. And Amazon does publishing only on demand. So with that, they can not have to print your book. You don't have to own 1,000 copies in your garage. You don't have to go on a speaking circuit to sell your books. They're actually just printed when they're ordered. So it just makes it great for so many people to use that as a creative outlet. So this was my creative outlet, because I wasn't home staging full time. So I got to write this and have some fun with it. And truly, all home stagers are exhausted all the time. And these stories are 1-page stories, and they take 2 minutes to read. And one lady gave me the biggest compliment of all. She said, my life does not allow me to smile a whole lot. And I read one of yours every day, one of your stories, and I keep it by my bedside, because sometimes that's the only smile I have that day. Wow. So it spurred me on to create 6 more titles, reserve those, and keep writing. Of course, that was 9 years ago, and staging took over, but one day I'll get back to that.
Well, it's so important too, as we're all business owners and entrepreneurs, and we get bogged down with so many other things. So taking the self-care moment, grabbing a book like yours and being able to just take a moment and smile is so important for not only our health personally, but for our business's health, right?
Yes, most definitely. And I think you get so involved in other people's lives, and those moments where you're helping them through a big crisis. Moving is in the top 5 of the most stressful things to do that a human has to do. and 1 in 15 people moves every year in the United States. So that's a lot of your life invested in other people's lives. So it is a good thing to step back and do that self-care.
Why did you decide to write Fresh Paint?
I decided to write Fresh Paint because I was in my first path of my career was working as an occupational therapist and a health and lifestyle coach. And I was really focusing on clutter and organizing for folks. I was finding that a lot of people needed clear direction in where they were going, and they was just so overwhelmed with everything kind of bombarding them from all levels of family life, work life, health, wellness, all those things. And I was finding a common thread with all my clients that paring down and simplifying by clearing that clutter from what I say mind, body, and home, which is what my book primarily focuses on. I just found that was such a key piece to people to really simplify and get down to kind of a simple abundance of where they were at in their life to get clarity. And I thought the book was a good stepping point for people to be able to start to do that and, move in their journey along where they were at, meet them where they were at, and have them progress forward.
Yeah, because I think, yes, we're home stagers. Yes, we help sell your home, but it's about lifestyle. It's about changing some of your habits moving forward once you do realize how you could be living in your space. So talk about that component of us almost being these psychologists or like this other whole aspect of home staging.
Yeah, I think people definitely buy lifestyle. They buy on emotion when they're buying real estate. And when they open up a cabinet and, the Tupperware is falling out of the cabinets, the cupboards, when the closets are jam-packed with stuff, they feel stressed and overwhelmed. So they're hoping if we buy a new home, we want lots of closets and we're going to have a lot of room. So seeing a home that's organized and that looks tidy and neat makes a buyer feel like when I live in this house, I'm going to have a different lifestyle. I'm going to be simplified. I'm going to have beautiful clothes all hung up in the closet. I'm going to eat healthier because my kitchen is so functional, and I have beautiful dishes, and, just the whole lifestyle of how something looks, how the towels look in the bathroom, feeling lighter and fresher, and definitely they buy into that feeling, and people are often running away from what's weighing them down, not necessarily on purpose, but I just find that simplifying on those levels of mind, body, and home have just been powerful tools for folks.
So Liz, why did you decide to write your book? You don't know what you don't know.
The selling your business is just a really, really complex process. If you're thinking of selling your staging business, you need to be planning at least 2 years out. But this book, again, is planning from the inception, from the day you start your business and write your business plan and your marketing plan. You should be thinking about your end game. And one of the main reasons I wrote it is when I went to sell, I had my accountant who I'd been working with for the past 13 years provide a valuation. And he came back with the valuation. I'm like, what the heck? I've worked all these years for this. You think this is what my company's worth? So I started talking with some people, and they said, why don't you talk with a business broker? And I did. And a broker looks at your business from a totally different light, and every aspect of that business. So my business sold for more than double what my accountant, who knew us and knew our numbers so well, than we ever dreamed of. And, working with a broker and, the paperwork that's involved. But one of the things that brought the most value to my business was having an operations manual, which is basically the Bible that runs your business, so that a potential owner can look at that and see every aspect of your business. So I just think that a lot of gals aren't looking at the whole picture. So I wanted to put that out there for them. I am pretty much retired right now. So I wrote the book after retiring, and I'm really not making money off the Facebook page and things. I'm connecting people. I'm trying to give back to the industry that did so much to us. So anything I can do to make these connections and guide the people. But I honestly, this little book that sells for $29.99 on Amazon can save people or make people so much more money, throughout their entire career.
Yeah, I think it's so important to go into entrepreneurship organized and have a plan. I've done it where I don't have a plan in the beginning, and you can just veer off the road very quickly without some type of structure, some type of plan. What is the number one tip in there when starting all of this, Liz?
Well, the number one tip is before you open your doors, you need to take all of the steps that are needed. You need to have that business plan and flesh out what your business is going to look like. And you're going to need some money to start a home staging business. I see people go out there and say, oh, I started my business and I have 2 houses worth of furniture. Should I buy some more? But what I talk about in the book and in the training sessions that I've done over the years is you need to look at how many houses of furniture do you need to have to make the money that you want to make. If you want to make $100,000 this year, what's that going to look like? What are your turns going to be? How much does it cost to purchase a house full of furniture and the accessories and everything that goes with it? So knowing your numbers up front before you ever open your doors, because you might look at those numbers and say, hey, this isn't the right time for me to start this business, or maybe I can't afford to start the business and need to go to work for someone else in home staging for a while. So, it's just knowing where you're at now, where you want to go, and what's it going to take to get there.
Yeah, and I think there's no shame in working for another home staging company versus starting your own business. People think that they need to start their own business in order to be successful in the industry. And honestly, I'm at the point now where I closed my home staging business. And when I moved, I would love the opportunity to help other stagers in their businesses and not have the headache of being the business owner, right? Bringing in the new clients, or, being creative and putting the staging together, but not having to man the warehouse, deal with employees and all of that stuff that I don't think people realize when they start their business, that these are other things that they're going to have to be worried about.
Absolutely.
How do you have that conversation, that slippery slope conversation with a home seller as a stager, saying, you got to cut clutter, you got to remove this? How do you have that conversation with them?
I really try to approach it in the sense that, listen, you're getting ready to move. You've decided you're moving to another location. So let's start to pack this stuff up. Let's clear it out, get it ready so that when your house sells quickly, which it will after we've organized and staged it, you're already ahead of the game. You're already packed and ready to go. I also tell them, do you want to pack everything you own and put it in a storage unit, or put it in the basement of the new home when we've noticed that you have lots of boxes in your basement currently from the last move? So I try to let them think of storing boxes is money. I mean, it's stuff that weighs you down. I'll often use the analogy of them imagining themselves running through the airport, waiting, trying to catch their flight at the last minute. And do they want to be the person, like, of some of us remember O.J. Simpson with just a backpack or a suitcase, one thing running through the airport? Are you the person dragging the giant cart with lots of luggage falling off the sides? And that analogy seems to make them realize, yeah, I want to be lighter. I want to move on with less stuff so I can feel better and have a fresh start in this new house. So they tend to try to pack their stuff up from that level. And I also offer a lot of services for donations, for estate sales. I really specialize in house cleanouts as well. So because I can offer all those services, I'm with them every step of the way. So I have a lot of different facets of my business that can help people with those things.
What would you say to sellers who are put in this position of, listening to a stager, of having to do this? Because I feel like a lot of times we're not here to belittle a home seller
Right.
and how they live. How do we get them to realize it isn't, it's not judgment. It's not a dig at you. It's just, this is what has to happen.
Yeah, I find a lot of realtors lean to me for that because they don't want to be that person that says it to the homeowner. So I think I draw a lot on my background as an occupational therapist and working with clients and kind of having slightly uncomfortable conversations. But again, trying to just tell them that I have a really neutral perspective on what buyers are looking for, and that if we do these things, it will appeal to the most amount of buyers, the widest variety, and bring them the most money. So normally, if you switch the conversation up to this is really going to help bring you more money and a quicker sale by paring down or by changing some of these things up and telling them, if buyers want to imagine their kids' pictures on the wall, they don't necessarily want to see yours or your wedding pictures or your personal items. They usually are pretty good. If it's a really tough house, sometimes you just do the best you can, especially if it's an owner-occupied stage. But for the most part, I feel if the realtor has recommended staging or the homeowner has asked for it, they're somewhat ready to listen to what you have to say. They're paying good money for you to come in and give them that advice.
Is there a favorite part of your book that you like to often go to or share, or?
I think just in general, there's a lot of spots for journaling in my book, and I like people to kind of go inward and really reassess what's important to them, and kind of maybe even come up with a dream board. I talk about that, or a vision board to really think about what it is that they want to transition to. So I try to encourage people to dream and to move towards the direction they'd like to go.
I love that. This is a question for all of you guys. How has the book changed your life after you've published it? Liz,
Well, I've been able to help 5 other authors and one nonprofit publish on Amazon, and it's a free process, but it is involved. But it's so great to see that look. My first author was 85 years old, and she wrote her life story, and it's benefited so many people. And so I think that's a great reason that this book came along, even though I haven't sold, a lot as many copies as probably she has. It has been that thing that locks me in as someone who can help others publish.
Yes, I love
Yeah.
that.
For me, I like to call my book my $7 business card because it cost me about $6 or $7 to get a copy, and they're printed from Balboa Press, but they're also on demand. But it's I think being an author just sets everyone apart, and it allows you to have a credibility and to have an influence on people, like Carol said, that you wouldn't otherwise have if you didn't have a book. A lot of people want to write a book. A lot of people have lots of books in their head, but they just don't take the time to do it. So the fact that you actually go through the process and write it and publish, it just makes you stand apart, different than other folks and inspire other people who would like to do it, but just don't know where to start. So like Carol said, again, you could be a resource for folks who would like to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Liz, how about you?
And for me, I think it's been the culmination of a career. I loved being in the home staging industry and growing my business and just going full circle. So it just kind of closes that chapter of my life. And then hopefully, like these ladies said, it's here to benefit others. And that's the main reason I wrote the book. So like I said, the industry has been so rewarding for me, just to be able to give back to other stagers and remain involved in the industry that way has been awesome.
Yeah, I think for me, it definitely increases your expertise. I mentioned I have the Feel at Home book. I also have the Make It Home, the Ultimate Project Planner, which I think a lot of people need help with maintaining their home. And then I was the co-author of Marketing, Home Staging and Design Industry, which I think is another important topic where our home stagers and interior designers get so bogged down with work that they are not actually working in their businesses and marketing the way that they should be. I just found a void kind of in all of these areas. I was like, oh, maybe a book would help. And not only that, but in your business, you know, a book is just like a jumping off point. If somebody will spend $7, $10, you know, download it for free, then that might be that first initial way that you can start building that business relationship with them. So I think that's why it's so important that home stagers, no matter where they are in the journey, reach out to other people who've been in the business. They can learn from all of us. They can obviously pick up our books. And I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here inside of Home Staging TV. Where can everyone find you? If we can just go around and say where is the best place to reach out to you. Carol, you first.
I'll say that the best place is just Carol Caffarell Facebook page personally, because I just seem to never have the time to go and post everything I need to on my Edge Home Staging Facebook page. So I'll say, come and find me in Greensboro, North Carolina, Carol Caffarell.
Nice. Thank you, Liz. You too.
You can find me on Facebook as well. Look for Liz Connolly. And then I have a private confidential Facebook page called Selling Your Staging Business. So you'd have to friend me, and then I can invite you to that page. And it's kind of a clearinghouse, not only for those wanting to sell their staging business, but for people who may want to buy a staging business. And what I'm promoting now is for people who are thinking of getting into home staging, why not look at buying a successful existing business rather than reinventing the wheel and starting from scratch? So look me up on Facebook and I'll connect you with all the other stagers out there.
I love that idea. Kelly?
You could find me at kelly-kurtz.com and also on my Facebook page, which is Simply Well, Simply Organized.
And Christine?
Stagingtraining.com.
Yes, where everything is. And if you guys are not, if you don't have a designation yet in home staging, please look into staging training and get that designation and get certified so you can legitimize your business. I want to thank you ladies so much for joining. Of course, if you want to check me out, you can go to torytoth.com. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel right here in Home Staging TV, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.